Hello again, Year 6. So, this is the last of this little series of videos about our science light topic. Um, and in this one, I'm not going to give you any more learning, I'm just going to explain to you what I want you to do. So, with any luck, at this point, or at least you know that you're going to watch the videos that I put on our YouTube channel. We've got lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3 and 4. You'll have watched those, you'll have done the activities, you'll have all the learning about light and how it works before you start this part of the project, which is going to be a big write-up of how light works and how we see. Now, I haven't taught you anything about how we see. Well, I kind of have, because I've taught you about how light works. And you're going to use that to explain how the eye works. All right? So there's going to be 2 parts to that. I'm going to show you straight away what that might look like. And again, this file is in our folder section. I'm just going to scroll down, because down here, there's quite a lot of instructions, but it'll be fine. I'll talk you through it. Here's an example. So this is somebody, not last year, but possibly year before, year 6 has had the topic of light for some time. So you can see how this person, you've got an introduction, you've got how light travels, why shadows are important. And then this is all one person's work. Then she's talked about reflective surfaces, opaque, transparent, translucent, light sources. And then she's gone on to use that information to talk about eye anatomy. Anatomy being the parts of the eye. So, for example, anatomy just means all the different parts. So you've got your body's anatomy, you've got head, arms, legs. It's all the different parts that go together to make your body. So we're looking at all the different parts that go together to make your eye. Eyes are so fascinating. They're absolutely amazing. So that's her second page. And then her third page, which is her final page, she's talked about all the different parts of the eye, the retina, the optic nerve. You're going to find out about all of that. And then she's talked about how that shows that we see. So I'm going to leave this one on the files as an example that you could go to if you want. All right, so you can look at that in more detail. So I'm going to go right back up. So what am I looking for? Well, I'm looking for this list of things. I want you to use scientific vocabulary. Obviously, you can't explain light and you can't explain how the eye works without using scientific vocabulary. And again, just to scroll down on this sheet, I've got all that vocabulary that we might use, and I've taken it from the 4 lessons that we've done, but put it all in the same place so that you can find it lesson by lesson and use that in your explanation. So I hope that's helpful. You are going to formal and informal. Remember, formal is like the Queen, and informal is like what was the example we used in class? I can't remember. But it's the opposite of formal. So how we would normally talk, in fact, is quite informal, isn't it? Do you remember when you did your newspapers, and I think you had an interview with a formal person and an informal person, and for the formal person you tended to use me or Mrs. Lloyd, and for the informal person, one of the other children, or Rob. Some of you did Rob. Do you remember? That was really funny. Okay, so make sure that you probably want a little bit of formal and a little bit of informal mixed together. So you're going to have headings, subheadings, you're going to have paragraphs. DUK, do you remember? That's did you know boxes. And again, just to scroll down, you will see that this lovely child, she's got these dear little did you know boxes with just some interesting facts that are really engaging for your reader. I think that's the only one she's got. However, she's also got some really nice diagrams and images, and the point of those is to help your reader understand. So we want some of those because your reader will want to have a diagram of the eye that they can look at when you're talking them through the anatomy. Otherwise, it's just not going to make sense to them. All right. Adverbials of cohesion, time and place. Now you're going to find that a bit confusing because you'll have forgotten what that means. So in the resources, you'll remember this on this little badger, won't you? I'll put that in resources so that you can use it. But remember, it's just simple things like firstly, secondly, lastly. And you might like to use that, for example, when you're talking about how light travels through the eye. You could say, firstly, it leaves the light source, secondly, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's just there to help you. But you are going to need those, otherwise it won't make sense for your reader. You have to sort of hold their hand as you come through. And then the full range of Key Stage 2 punctuation. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a really proper piece of work, and I'm hoping that you will enjoy it and really push yourselves on this one. So you've got the videos about how light works, and you've got the research and writing up of that and how the eye works. So this is just a suggestion. You can do it how you like. But I thought it would make sense either, because this is a 2-week project. In week 1, do all the light experiments and the learning that's from that, and then in week 2, do the research and write the report. Or you could in week 1 just do the first 2 lessons and the research, and then in the second week you could do lesson 3 and 4 and do the writing up. It's up to you. I don't mind. I've said here, if people are really into it and need more time, I don't have a problem with extending it for the 3rd week, as long as it's because you're doing a really good job and it's time consuming, rather than whoops, I haven't started it yet. All right. So if it's going well, we'll give it another week so that you can make a really quality piece of work. Now I want to show you this website because you'll find it, well, I think it's the best explanation of how the eye works, and you'll find lots of really useful vocabulary. So you do have to have Flash Player, which may or may not be. So I have it on I have to be asked. So how the eye works, and so on. I'm just going to flick very quickly through it to just introduce you. So there's your anatomy. Those are the things that I'm going to want you to include. The sclera, the cornea, the iris pupil, those are the bits that I'm going to want you to talk about. But here, look, you can click on one of those and it tells you a little bit more about it. Now, word of warning here, I do not want to read this 23 times. You must take notes and write it up in your own words. No cutting and pasting. Thank you very much. So you can look at all of those and so on, blah, 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 blah. Then there's a little test. Can you actually label them right, which is quite nice. And then it talks about how we actually see. All right. That is the last bit of your report. So I know this could be a little bit confusing, so I'm going to go back to this. There's all your vocabulary. There's your example. And what I've done is a suggested layout. So what I'm suggesting is you've got an intro, obviously. And I've done a model here, which is based on how do we hear rather than how do we see. So you will find that it's quite a helpful kind of get you into the frame of mind of how you might introduce your. So that's your intro. Then you're going to tell me about how light travels. And this little picture is there to just help you remember. So you're going to explain there the basics of light. A full paragraph explaining how light works, that it travels in straight lines, that it meets objects, blah, blah, blah. Because if your reader doesn't understand that, they won't understand how the eye works. This is the basics of light before you explain how the eye works. All right, so that's your first proper paragraph. Paragraph to introduce, paragraph on how light travels, paragraph, probably some diagrams of the different materials and how light passes through or doesn't pass through. Okay, also in your own words. Then you're going to talk about the anatomy of the eye. You're going to talk about how what each piece does, what its function is, what job it does. Then when your reader understands that, they can start to put it together as a how we actually see. And that's going to be this sort of thing. Explain the process in order, kind of like leaving the source. That should say us, to us understanding what we see. We're going to finish with us understanding. That's going to be in the brain. Okay, so that's going to be a sort of step by step. This happens, then this happens, and after that, so on and so forth. Finally, just finish it off with a nice conclusion. All right, so that's roughly what it's going to look like. Intro, how light travels, different types of materials, anatomy of the eye, and then how that anatomy all works together for the process of seeing. Obviously, there are other websites, and please use other websites, but I just really wanted you to look at this one because it's so very clear. And the animation's quite nice. There's a little quiz at the end that you can do to make sure that you've understood. And that is that. I'm going to save that because I made some changes to it. All right. So you're going to produce for me something a little bit like this. You can type it. You can handwrite it. Please use pen because I'm struggling to read some of your pencil. You can do it on pieces of paper and send it me with a photo or as a file. You know how to do it. You've been doing it for some weeks. Obviously, if you get stuck along the way, then you know where I am and you can ask for help. I don't think there's anything else I need to say, except I suppose if there's any resources that you want me to put up, like the adverbials sheet that I haven't thought of, that you're used to using in class or you think it would be helpful, then give me a shout and I'll put those in the folders as well. So this is a 2-week project, quite a meaty 2-week project. So this is your English and your science for 2 weeks. So I'm hoping that they're going to be really rather wonderful. All right, can't wait to see it. Bye for now.